Imagine this. You know generative AI is reshaping how we work. So, you invest in Microsoft's 365 Copilot licenses for your employees. But adopting it at scale isn't as simple as hitting buy. Those who get it right can unlock new levels of productivity and creativity, while others risk ending up with an underused tool and missed opportunities. So, how can you make sure you extract as much value from this shiny new tool as possible? In this episode, Martin Soisson joined us to share how our firm is approaching GenAI adoption, from real-life use cases to the challenges and success factors that help make it work in practice. Martin is a senior manager in the core project unit and AI competency lead at PwC Luxembourg. I'm your host, Carlos Santos, and this is Tech Talk, technology made simple over a cup of coffee. So, grab your favorite beverage and let's dive in. Hello and welcome to a new episode of Tech Talk. Today we are going to discuss our journey in adopting Copilot. So we'll talk about challenges, governance, and success. Right, Christopher?
Yes, indeed. And well, this year I'm quite happy with the topics because it's a lot of topics that I work on as well. Said that in the previous episode, but this one, Copilot, I've been involved as well in the journey. So I'm very happy to record this episode today, and to help us navigate this important topic, we're joined by Martin, who will bring us his insight on the topic. So welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Great, it's a pleasure to have you with us. But before we kick things off, if you can tell us a bit more about yourself and what brings you here today to discuss about this topic.
Yes, certainly. So I'm born and raised in Berlin, Germany, and for now 6 years I live here in Luxembourg. And in the time being, I worked as a consultant, mostly in the field of digital transformation. So I worked with a large automotive company and helped them, for example, to set up their PMO and navigate their journey into digital transformation. And this is a very exciting topic that stuck with me until today.
Clearly, and
great. I think I'm here today because I'm in charge at PwC for the M365 Copilot project. So it's M365 and M365 Copilot Studio.
Great. Thank you for the introduction. So let's get started. We hear a lot about Copilot these days, right? But not everyone is familiar with what it actually is and does. So how would you explain it in simple terms, especially in the context of how we use it at PwC?
Yes, so M365 Copilot I would describe as a personal assistant that has access to all your data. So, for example, your chat conversations, your email inbox, and as well can fulfill tasks to a certain extent for you on your behalf.
Yes, I think you said it right, and I think it's quite the biggest difference, I would say, in terms of, well, because we hear a lot about GenAI, ChatGPTs and so on, but I think the great asset of Copilot is exactly what you mentioned, that it's integrated with the ecosystem. So I think it's quite clear in terms of definition.
Assistant 2.0.
Yeah, but we'll get to that, but again, integrated in all your work documents and safe and so on.
I think this is a good point that you make. Is it's the most integrated GenAI tool in any office environment. So it's available to anyone within the Office suite of Microsoft at the fingertip, and you do not have to switch between interfaces. So it's fully integrated in different Microsoft tools. And this, I think, is a huge differentiator to any other market tool.
Yes, for sure, indeed. And continuing in that aspect and in the integration with all the different tools, maybe can you give us a number of concrete examples of, let's say, typical tasks that you see are being done with the help of Copilot? And if we can try and have, something on top of the usual suspects that we typically have, so the help to draft emails and so on and so forth, what are your concrete examples of tasks that are being done with Copilot?
Certainly. But before I jump into answering your question, let me return it maybe to the two hosts as a question. As you are both users, what is your preferred case?
Well, I'm going to be very basic and say, for me, it's drafting emails. It's really helpful. Yes.
Okay. Fair enough. I'll
So you have to give a more advanced example, Christopher.
No, I have to, because I just said that.
Yes.
I'll split the question in two because I like to twist the questions. For me, there's two different aspects. There's what I do the most and what I like to do and the interactions I have with Copilot, and the ones that I find the more, let's say, interesting, but that I cannot apply directly to my work. For the first part, so what I use the most is, as I said, the interaction with the documents that we have, etc., specifically in Word, where you can generate the entire document or very specific paragraphs, for example, based on other documents. So I give it, I don't know, 1, 2, 3 input documents. I specify the prompt with all the good prompt engineering of the context, etc. And then it gives me an output. And that I use quite a lot because it's very specific. It understands the context and so on. And it accelerates my work in producing documents or parts of documents in Word specifically. So that's the one I use the most. And to the one maybe I find the most interesting for the future is the one in Excel. So I don't work too much with numbers in Excel, but it's progressed heavily, I would say, Copilot in Excel specifically. And now, since a couple of months, you can even use and leverage Python. So Copilot can write Python code and interpret it and apply it directly in Excel, which is super powerful and opens a lot of doors for the future. So it's a long answer, but that's my take on it.
Okay, no, but I think for me the take is we always look out for the special case. But actually, what you mentioned in the beginning is while looking into the mundane, the standard work, answering to emails. Actually, it covers maybe already 40% of our workday. If we are honest, it's not always the Python programming in an Excel sheet for a certain visualization. So here, for example, Copilot is doing a fantastic job of managing, helping you to have an overview of your inbox and staying on top of what you should see. So for me, this is something we just have to acknowledge. I think if everyone has, I always say it's 5 plus minus 2. If you already have these cases on hand, I think you will benefit hugely from this personal assistant on your hand. So what I personally think is of the Copilot that we have, yes, the standard approach, but what's very interesting, for example, you can assign Copilot a role as a coach, as a sparring partner. So if you go to your next sales pitch, you can share your PowerPoint slide deck that you want to discuss with your client or with internal clients, and you can ask Copilot to ask you questions based on the information it has. So this helps you to anticipate what interactions you will maybe have with another human and be prepared. So this is, I think, one of the underestimated roles. Mm-hmm. It's not just to summarize, but to help you and yourself to become better.
Yeah,
that's true. I've tried that feature and it's very useful, actually.
It's very good at criticizing.
Yeah.
But I think linked to what you said, the coach aspect, I think what people also underestimate quite heavily is the fact that it's also there to have a conversation. So it's not just there to, like we used to interact with AI, ask a question, get an answer, and that's it. You can really interact and build up a conversation. Yes. And really act like you would with a coach. So use different documents, use also recording of meetings to check that, okay, everything that we said in that meeting, is it in line with the presentation I created? And then interact and continue the interaction.
Yes, and I think as well it depends on your personal preference type. So I'm a person, I process my thoughts by explaining it. And sometimes I feel I'm too stuck in my own head if I'm especially not around my team. Well, Copilot can help you to get this blank page filled to set a start. Mm-hmm. And to have this conversation, as you say, Christopher. It's very capable if you prompt it correctly and you give it as well the role.
Yeah, the potential. I mean, there are so many examples of how we can use Copilot. We could do an episode just to talk about the examples. Yeah. But that's not why we are here today, right,
there
Christopher?
Is adoption.
Yes, adoption. So it sounds very exciting, right? But it comes also with some challenges, I'm sure.
Yes.
So from your experience, what have been the main hurdles in bringing Copilot to our firm?
Well, one is we really have to acknowledge that I think with Copilot and the time of AI we are in is a turning point of technological use. So the release of ChatGPT to the general public has enabled the user base to a great bit to work already with these interactive agents. So when we came to the point to roll out M365 Copilot more to PwC already, there was a knowledge base in the user community on how to use the tool. And this is uncommon to most rollouts of tools, because you had usually like a super early adopters group. They were having access to the technology and the knowledge, and you could roll it out in sequence. And here basically the technology comes to a prepared user community, and this is a big change. I think as well it requires a growth mindset, literally, of all involved, because the technology is challenging us of anticipating how we roll out, how we enable, how we handle as well existing business processes. For example, how we intake technology, how we approve, as we are very concerned and about data management in this company. It's one of our major assets that we have, that we are having the trust of clients, of employees, of other stakeholders. They entrust us, and we have to make sure that this trust is solid. So this is taking us yet to another stage that we really have to see how we can progress. And of course, it takes a leap of faith. So the technology is evolving fast, and the question any leadership has to ask or answer is, do we invest money now, or because the technology is going to be more enhanced in 6 months, it will be more enhanced in 5 years. But the question is, are you enabling your organization? So it takes a leap of faith and courage to take this investment and to move forward despite, let's say, the hurdles and challenges. And for this, I'm very happy that we have this mindset and the setup here for PwC to, let's say, as well, take the medicine ourselves, to test it out, to see if it works, and we can say it does work.
So do you think it's better to start adopting such technology early on rather than wait 5 years? Or
No.
Okay.
No. I'm 100% convinced it's the task or the mission is to stay in the game. We are often mistaken to say, how can we stay in the lead? This is not the role. You have to continue being relevant in the market, and starting small and anticipating and getting and how can I say, interfacing yourself with the challenges is making you better and smarter to face further challenges that will come in the future. So early on, and build your own intelligence around these tools and technologies, and adopt your organization to the challenge.
Just to emphasize what you said, I think specifically with this technology, with the pace at which it evolves, I think if you wait, it's too late. Even if you start today, I think it can in some cases be late already. But with the pace at which it evolves, and we've seen it in our adoption journey, I think it's even more important than with any technology to start early in this adoption process.
And I think for us as a company, it's going back to having the trust we want, I think, build with the clients. Is that we can say we can build the empathy because we have been there. So we really implemented the technology into PwC. We go through all the requirements, checks from a technical perspective, data management, everything is checked. We know what it means to roll out Copilot to a larger scale of people. So on the campus here, we are around 3,600 people, and you have to set up a full adoption plan to cover this ground. So it's very enriching, I think, for the company to say, we've been there, we've done it, we can talk about the ups and downs, and we can invest this experience into our client relationships.
No, indeed. I think, so you talk here a lot, rightfully, about clients and how we build trust as well, and on these tools and so on. But I think the other aspect is right, is true as well, building trust internally with the employees, but also with the leadership. And in this then adoption journey, what can you maybe elaborate on specific concerns that we might have faced with our employees or with the leadership that come regularly when in this adoption process?
That we faced and might still be facing.
Yes. I think the major concern we see is that everyone is aware about data and data training the model of any GenAI tool. And this is, of course, as I said in the beginning, huge concern. We earn the trust of our clients and other stakeholders. and we want to make sure that this is well founded. So it was reviewed before we intake the technology. We are in close relationship here with Microsoft if there are questions being asked, and we as well invest a lot into trainings and enabling those that handle, let's say, our risk management to anticipate and to ask the right questions so that we can address them rightfully. And about the concerns, we take them very serious. And I think here it plays out that we have with Microsoft a supplier that takes these concerns, in my reading, serious. So there are some measures integrated already in the tool that, for example, regard GDPR or ethical use. So when you enter, for example, can you please give me feedback on Christopher Rosser? The agent will disengage. If I ask, what is the salary of Martin Soisson? It will say, no, I prefer to quit this conversation and I will not pursue. And I think this is, for me, showing, okay, this is really embedded and that we have this concern. And then we have the other concerns that we say, are we fast enough? You know, it's we are all aware of the developments, and then this is the other concern to say, well, are we fast enough? Are we on the right track? Are we setting it up for success? It's the other side of the concerns we are being faced.
And how are we addressing these concerns? Can you share maybe some concrete steps or initiatives that help to smooth the way for adoption?
Yes, certainly. So one is that we have the close relationship with Microsoft to ensure that we understand the technology we take in. And we have the subject matter experts to do all the due diligence that is necessary and to have all the checks that you need before you take it in. I think this is raising a lot the confidence we have, and we do this on different scales. So we are on a global network and we are doing it locally just as much to stay in compliance with the national law, European law, to reassure ourselves as we are self-responsible as a company on this. The other point is that we educate a lot about the functionality of the Copilot, how it's being set up, how the data is processed. We don't have any limitations of people asking us questions. We are very open in the process. And then the other point is enabling. So we deliver a lot of trainings to different grades in the company to different extents. And just yesterday, a group of, I would call them more advanced users, attended, I think we're 20 some people of our company, a full day training on how to develop agents from different departments. And I think this is an important point, is to enable all departments so that you're not having a clash of saying, okay, well, it's one against the other, but let's take an informed approach to move forward together.
Departments and levels, right?
Yes.
As well.
Yes, yes. So it's really cross-company.
And to build on that, because was a lot about the why, or say this is important, why adoption is important, and you mentioned some, let's say, I would call them keywords of change management. So of course, change management, it plays a big part in any technology adoption. I don't think we need to convince too many people about that, but for such a fast evolving technology and tools such as Copilot and GenAI as a whole, how do we manage that? Are there any particularities in this change management for such a technology?
Yes, I think we have to be aware generally that we are not talking about just an technological deployment, but about a whole transformation. And we have set up this way of transforming the entire organization so that we, one is we have to stay ourselves in the know as a change management team. There are so many changes coming from the regulator, there are changes coming from the supplier side, there are other competitors on the market, to understand, okay, what's happening outside, how do we stay in the know. The other one is to really enable the users to their relevant environment. So we have different trainings for partners than we have for senior associates. We have different trainings for audit than we have for advisory. So this is important to show how does this technology play out in your relevant environment, and how does it help you in your everyday life. And the other one is the feedback loop. So we are taking feedback very serious. We are getting requests from teams, and we say, okay, honestly, sometimes we do not know, but we put best efforts in to learn, and we come back and do the most of what we have at hand right now.
That's a very exciting job.
It's a very, I can say it's a very fulfilling job as well.
Yeah.
You know, I feel that, and this is as well what I hear from our project team members. They say this is one of the most rewarding projects they have worked on. They say we feel really that all the time that we invest into this, it's so well received. So my team has provided a set of trainings, and within 2.5 hours, 150 seats were fully booked out in the company.
Mm-hmm.
So as well, people taking their time from their day job that they have to do anyway, investing into learning about this technology, and the feedback is amazing. And we have the same for partners.
Mm-hmm.
So we delivered partner trainings for 1 hour, and they say, "Wow, we need actually train for 1.5 hours." I say, "Yes, I would be very happy if I get that much time from you." So the feedback is rewarding for us, and the team is very eager to continue this journey.
And also, it's great to see the willingness within the firm to adopt the technology, to adopt Copilot, and to use it to make their lives easier.
And I think as well, the reward comes because people realize the Copilot does not take away the boring part of my job. Reviewing a chain of emails of 30 responses is not fun.
Yeah.
Creating PowerPoint, it's not fun. To me, definitely, it's not.
Maybe for some.
Summarizing, I don't know, emails, Word documents, or something.
Yeah.
It's not the fun part. The fun part is when you can maybe create something new, when you can work with your colleagues and imagine the
That's
new
true.
things.
Yeah.
And I think for this, people are very happy that there is a solution that can help them easy and compliant in their everyday work.
Yeah, just to give you an example, when I'm working with the graphic designers, we have a graph that we want to use for a blog, and we need the graph to be redesigned. So we need to rewrite the text to send it to them so they can redesign, and that takes time, and it's boring as a task. And yesterday I tried Copilot and it worked. I was very happy that it could extract from the graph and just give me the text. So
Yes.
amazing.
And it still will take your human eye and your
Yeah.
expertise that you have developed, your experience, to review whatever Copilot is feeding back to you. So this is not taking away, but it's calling more on your expertise that you have, I feel.
That's true. Now let's move on to a less sexy topic, governance, but it's
Very important.
very important.
Yes.
We've learned over the years doing doing Tech Talk that is a key topic. So how do we ensure proper governance around Copilot and GenAI tools, especially when it comes, and you already mentioned that, data privacy, compliance, and also ethical use?
So I find one thing that becomes clear to me is we have to distinguish this question for the technology and the use case. So one is we look at the technology as an enabler, and we review this apart from the use cases. So once the technology is being approved and we can, let's say, check the boxes on our technical side, the legal side, and so on, we still review each use case to their the risk and the impact they can have, as well with the change of, let's say, automation it brings in. So this is very, very important to us, and we are looking into where is it safe to use, and we can have, let's say, more people participate in the development, and what are use cases that are high risk in the terms of the data it's being used or the interface as well outside the company. So for this, we have a very established business process, and we are very conscious about how we proceed. But at the same time, you can say you can build here with the sandboxes that comes with the technology to say, okay, well, let's try it out in a safe environment before we move forward. And this is working really well because Microsoft provides us with this on different levels, on the admin side, on the developer side, on the program management side, to really see this, to review what is being released and before it's being released. So I find this is very important. We as well have the other side where we have monitoring. So we can see, for example, usage data, not down to the person. As we say, we are GDPR. It's not about if an individual is using Copilot correctly, but where are we standing generally in the organization, what are the tools that maybe need more adoption, more guidance. So this is very good for us to go and move on with confidence, one step at a time, as a company.
I think so. Yes, indeed, governance can be a boring topic in some aspects, but no, I think it's also been one of the keys of our success, and I'll use that and an anecdote as a segue for the next question. But I think indeed starting with the use cases is what we've done right from the beginning, starting with amongst other things, the hackathon, defining the use cases where we can derive most of the value, and then setting up the governance, embarking also the management. I think it's been a way to, let's say, adopt it as a firm, not only as employee, but broadly as a firm, and to define, let's say, the governance around. It's been, at least in my opinion, from the outside, also quite successful in that aspect. And as a segue for the next question, I'll use an anecdote that I like, because we're talking here about adoption and our experience about it. And I was lucky enough to be in part of the first adopters, let's say. And how did I receive my access, let's call it that way, to Copilot? Was probably the worst way that any organization can do it at the time. We learned a lot from it and throughout the years. So, but that was 2 years ago now, almost. I received an email saying me, hello, you now have access to Copilot, best regards, and the person signed. And that's it, that's all. I had no clue at the time what it was exactly, where to find it, how to access it. Okay, how do I progress from there? No training whatsoever. So not at all best practice. But then, based on all our experience so far, what would you say then is the best approach for an organization to successfully adopt Copilot, specifically in such a large organization as ours? But like, in a nutshell, let's say, what would you say is the best approach?
I find that it's important to lead the way. I think we are or I'm very happy that we have the support from the country leadership team on this topic, who knows that this is a key driver of the future, and to lead the way, to enable the organization, and to take this courage and the leap of faith to move forward, and to say, okay, we need to enable us and the organization to work forward. In the rollout, I would say, build up courage to, one, enable your key contributors, and the other one is to start with a smaller user group, and not to make the big splash.
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe it's the first 5% or 10% of your population in your organization, and then you can scale from the experience one by one, moving forward into this. And my motto always is envision, enable, achieve. So what is it that you really want to envision for your organization? Do you have an idea of using GenAI? How do you enable your people to go there, and making sure that you achieve it? So going back to your earliest question, as going from this email to now, we have a 95% user adoption rate that we can measure. We see a growing interaction rate of the user base, and we are still deploying many trainings.
So, from an adoption perspective, where have you seen Copilot bring the most immediate value? And are there any quick wins or aha moments that really convince people of its usefulness?
So the answer depends on the role and the grade you're in. What is the quick win? So, for example, the partners in the company, they were very happy to see how Copilot can help them to navigate their inbox, because this is where they mostly work with and so on. So to stay on top of what's relevant, to catch up with meetings that were the meeting minutes, and to prepare for the next meeting. So this was, for the partners, I can say, an eye-opener. While for everyone who's not partner in the organization, for example, it's more the everyday tasks, for creating PowerPoints, for answering this email chain, for summarizing documents. So this is really a relief, let's say, for this standard work. And what I always say is, if you want to move forward, you should try it out in a case or in your space of expertise. If you are a legal expert, or a GDPR expert, or you are at IT risk, you are in advisory, wherever you are, you can try out Copilot in your field of expertise and see to what level do you get the responses, and how you can maybe change and adopt the prompt and how it changes the response you get. And with this, build up your confidence as you move forward.
And actually, how do you measure and analyze the value of deploying Copilots and the adoption?
If I can just emphasize on this question before I give you the floor to answer, but for me, this is super key, and we see it as well in the market. Convincing the client at the different level on the hierarchy of the value that they can derive and how to measure it, I think is quite a challenge. We do it with some clients to have some value assessments, but it's quite a challenge. So I'm keen to see how you would suggest to measure that. Yeah.
Yes. Well, it's a reoccurring question that we are, of course, facing. I think what's helpful for me to drive forward the user adoption here in PwC is to have the monitoring dashboard. So we very regularly look into the dashboard that comes with Copilot and see what is the user adoption rate. We can even break it down per business unit, down to the minimum group is 5 people, cross tools. So we can see where's the tendency, what tools are not yet fully used. So as Christopher said, Excel is not one of the top yet integrated tools. It's true. And we see that there's a low usage. So this is part of the element that we have to work on. And then that's the question to the leadership, to say, is there a leap of faith to say, what would be the other question to ask is, can we have the courage to not be in working with AI? Because you have to be sure, even if you do not work with AI, your counterparties will work most likely with AI, and your results, whichever you deliver, whoever you are, will be counter-checked using AI. So it might be useful to have as well this intelligence on your side when you ship it, your work to anyone else, and have it reviewed with a second pair of eyes.
That's a very good point.
Yeah. And I think to what you were saying earlier as well, that's where starting with the use cases makes a ton of sense as well, because then you can see where and how you can derive the value from tools such as Copilot or from other tools that you can develop based on GenAI internally or with the help of third parties, whatever. But I mean, if you start really by understanding how you work, as always, and your use cases, then you can try and understand the value, even if it's difficult to measure time saved.
Yes.
Can to a certain extent, but it's difficult. But I
think this is a good point. How do you measure work not done by a human? And if it only takes me now 5 minutes to prompt this with the Copilot, and I get a sufficiently good response, I will save maybe 3 days of work. But I work on something else. This is something important to consider.
Yeah, but difficult to measure.
Yes,
but indeed important as well. But then let's look at the future. Let's look a bit ahead. We know it's evolving quite fast, so we need a crystal ball a bit. But even here, it's a bit more complex with Copilot and GenAI. But how do you see it evolving in the future? So we mentioned agents. I'm sure that's one of the answers that you give. But are there any trends or development that excite you the most at the moment? What do you see for the future of Copilot and GenAI?
Well, what I can imagine is that Copilot will become a standard like we have in mobile phones. So I think 20 or 30 years ago, no one had a mobile phone as a standard when you joined a company. Now, if you don't get a laptop, you don't get a mobile phone, you wonder, where did I end up? And I think in 5 years, people who join a company, they will say, okay, but where's my GenAI, whatever, Copilot license to assist me in my everyday work? And I think it will become a standard.
Yeah. So linked to that, if you want to complement, but then, so as you said, it's probably going to become a standard, but what does it mean then for future of, let's say, roles, skills, leadership, or even jobs in companies? Do you see that evolving as well?
Well, I think it raises already today the question, what do we evaluate people on? I think in the past, it was purely on output rate. Okay, so if I now have a tiny machine that covers most of my standard work, we have to redefine how we evaluate people. And we see as well that for the AI journey, it doesn't matter how many years you have experience in your specific field of your subject matter expertise, but how much you can contribute to this development of the AI. And this is crossing age groups, grades, lines of service. So it's a very good question to ask, and I'm curious how the answer will be in a couple of years. But it's a pushing question.
Yeah, we'll see, because as you said, it's evolving so fast. We never know. So we are coming to an end. And to wrap things up, what key takeaways or advice would you like to share with our audience? So especially for those who are just starting their Gen AI adoption journey.
Yes, I would say, so my motto is envision, enable, achieve. Envision a future for you and your organization around AI. This is strong. How will you enable your organization, not just on a personal level, but on a structural level, to move there? And when you achieve it, how do you know? So we are very happy to use the monitoring. We see the feedback we get from our people in the coffee corners, the response rates to trainings, but as well asking the question, okay, if tomorrow our leadership team would announce to remove all Copilot licenses, I think there would be a shock in the organization to say, this is not possible.
Yeah.
How can we do that?
Yeah.
And this is a good feedback as well from the user community.
I think you can go back now.
No,
No.
no way.
Too late. Okay. Thank you so much,
Thank you
Martin.
for having me. Thank you. Conversation.
Yeah, it was fantastic. But before we say goodbye, I want to ask our usual question, because this is Tech Talk, technology made simple,
Over a cup of coffee.
right? So what's your favorite beverage?
Oh,
The most difficult question that
The
you were
most-
not prepared for, right?
yes. No, I think it's very plain. It's I'm very happy with water and a cup of espresso. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, those two go well
Together.
together,
Yeah.
yes.
Perfect.
Thank you so much, Martin.
thank you. Thank you.
And that's all for today. This is Tech Talk, technology made simple over a cup of coffee. Don't miss out on any future episodes by hitting subscribe. Thank you for listening to this episode, and see you in the next one.